What's going on, guys? Chuck in,
Chris.
and we welcome you back to Titanic, the Cinematic Expedition. And this is, of course, Dive 3. And now we're getting into the big time. This is the first of really only two, really major, big, well-renowned Titanic films. And, of course, we're talking about, from 1958, A Night to Remember. Of course, this is based off the 1955 book by Walter Lord, A Night to Remember, which you can see Chris and I were reading way back when he was a little one.
Yeah, I was big into it. And I still am.
Yeah, when Chris, like I said, we talked about this before, when Chris learned about Titanic, he was like all into it. And I got the book, and when he was learning how to read, he grabbed the book off the shelf himself and was trying to read it. So every night I would sit with him in bed, we'd read part of it together. And this is as far we got. What was it like?
Chapter 6.
Chapter 6, yeah. This is exactly, the bookmark's still in the same spot. And that's where we left off.
Chapter 6, I can't read.
Yeah, that's it.
That's the way of it at this kind of time.
Yeah. Should I tuck you in at night and finish reading this to you now?
I have...
I don't know.
I can read now. I could probably read this entire book now, whenever I feel like it.
So this is obviously now this is a British-made film, clearly.
Yeah.
It was released on July 3rd of 1958, and it was critically acclaimed. And again, based on this book, which the book was very well known, renowned to this day. A lot of actual accounts from survivors, and even now, I think there's a lot of controversies about what was correctly recalled in the book and what is real, what is not. I mean, because again, no one honestly knows what happened except the people who were there, and there's no one left to tell you what happened.
Yeah, the last survivor died in 2009.
Yeah, and the ones who really, really knew went down with the ship.
Yeah,
which is sad. But I mean, this is, in my mind, so far, out of the previous two films, like the first film, obviously, you're looking at a weird German point of view, bashing how, the British...
The British were, like, greedy, and I forget most of it.
Just basically greedy and, full of themselves. And then the last film, it's called Titanic. It's basically about a bad marriage and whatnot. This is the first film so far where the film is actually about the Titanic.
And it's actually focused. That it's not just a backdrop like it was kind of like in the previous movies. It's the main focus. And it's pretty accurate.
I mean, the cast list is huge. There's only very few people that I knew. But it's basically fronted by only one person. That was, I got his name here right because I can't remember who it was. I have a lot of notes, so I can get a chance to read through them real quick.
You just printed them out.
I know, it's like real quick.
As soon as we started the movie.
I get a chance because I'm like in a rush. I just had it here too. Why can I not? Kenneth Moore, that's what it was.
I have to highlight it.
I did highlight it, but I can't find the page now. But yeah, I'm trying to make sure that I got it right before I go on and say that it was Kenneth Moore. But because they said it like 500 times in the trailer. Jesus, where did it go? Kenneth Moore, there it is.
The cast.
I am prepared.
Very.
But Kenneth Moore, he's the focus. He's playing Second Officer Lightoller. And you start off with the christening of Titanic. Mm-hmm. But basically, if there's any point of view you're kind of going through, it's through Lightoller. Everyone else is, you don't spend any time with any other character. You really get involved with them. They're all kind of just there. You've got your young lovers. You've got steerage. You've got the really hoity-toity, prim and proper British elite and
above everyone.
Oh my God, it's real. I find it interesting that this is a British film when they're really sticking it to themselves of how uptight these rich British people were. I mean, it's just they're pulling no punches. Like I told Chris, these were the original Karens. The originals. I can't stand for this. I can't believe someone is smoking at a time like this.
I personally think that this is improper hour for the language.
Yeah, upstairs, downstairs. I wish they'd make up their mind. This is so unsettling. Lady, chill. I mean,
it's fine.
But so many of them, other British people in there were just, it's really focusing that I don't see so much of the class because you don't really focus too much on the steerage passengers.
No.
I mean, you see them, and basically they're having their fun, whatever. They're decent people, know. And I'm not saying that the first class are bad people, but you just they definitely have a different mindset. What did you think of that?
I was going to sneeze. That's why I wasn't paying attention. Are you talking about the steerage and the?
Oh, just the way that they were. I guess the first class was.
I was honestly, if you want my opinion, I wasn't really paying attention. I was more just involved in the story as usual. I wasn't really paying attention to how others were portrayed. Yeah,
and that's fine. I mean, again, because these characters are really not. They're not made for you to care about necessarily. They're more of a dressing to everything else.
Yeah.
They're cookie cutter, for lack of a better term. Because the only one that really has any kind of depth, again, is Kenneth Moore's Lightoller. The one character that I absolutely love, though, and God, I hope I can find it now, because of course I mixed the pages up, is George Rose. He played Chief Baker, Charles Jofflin. But George Rose, and he's a baker, and he's a very sweet character. He doesn't do much. He's almost like comic relief, to a bit, but he's also a very sweet person. He's like to a point where he's going to get on a boat, but he gives it up to a woman, and he's like, "Well, that's it. It's it for me, and I'm going to accept it." He goes to his room and starts drinking, and he's drunk the rest of the movie.
Yeah,
but it's he's again still being sweet. It's very enduring as he's going through, and I don't know. He's the one character besides Lightoller really stuck out to me.
Yeah,
I really liked him a lot, and I think even James Cameron kind of throws in an homage to him in his movie.
Yeah,
when they're climbing up, and I think Jack looks up, he sees that the baker, he's actually taking a.
Yeah,
that's kind of an homage to that. But speaking of which, clearly there is a lot of homage to this film in Titanic.
Lot. In 1997's Titanic, James Cameron's.
Yeah. Something else that was interesting here, where the previous films were very, what was I trying to say? They made a point to mention the big passengers, like I said, the John Jacob Astor, or the Guggenheims, and all that. They don't do that. I mean, eventually they're mentioned like towards the end. It is in passing. Oh, there's Guggenheim. There's Jacob Astor. Some of those famous scenes. They even have the Molly Brown character, but she's never dressed by name. In the cast list, she's credited as Molly Brown, but you obviously know who she is, but she's never dressed.
Kind of by looks and how she talks.
How you've known her to be portrayed. Yeah, but again, they don't make a point of that because it's not about everyone there, even though it's important. You've got more caricatures of what the people were on the ship, but this first time you actually get Thomas Andrews referenced. Very good job, and I didn't mark his name down, and I should have. Vant for Chris. Do stuff.
So, anyways,
talk. While I find him.
I want to complain about the band. It wasn't correct. They did not have. It was not a string quartet. They had a clarinet and a flute for no apparent reason. This is all wrong. I did not.
Yeah, we lost our credibility. Yeah, he's actually the second listed name.
Okay. I'll stop my rant.
Michael Goodlife as Thomas Andrews, who does a really good job in the role. He's got a very soft humanity about him, and he's a guy. He's portrayed very much like what James Cameron does. I really think his direction he took in Titanic is focused a lot on this portrayal.
You got a lot of inspiration from
it. I mean, even some blatant, I don't want to say blatant scene stealing. It reminds me a lot. Yeah, it reminds me a lot of what Peter Jackson did with his Lord of the Rings trilogy. Specifically, like some scenes in Fellowship of the Ring. If you ever, which I know you haven't, because he hasn't seen Lord of the Rings.
I have not.
But Ralph Bakshi's animated Lord of the Rings, there are some scenes that actually Peter Jackson took and did one for one in his live action stuff in reference to, which is really cool. I think that's kind of what James Cameron did with this. Another thing that's interesting, it really stuck at me, was the movie's very quiet. Yeah. There is no music for the longest point, and I was watching, I'm thinking, because it wasn't really dawning on me, because the last movie we were talking about had no music.
Yeah, and it felt really empty.
Yeah, This one wasn't so much. I mean, the action was there; that you really felt it. But there's scenes like when the Titanic hit the iceberg.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking this could really be ramped up with music and make it more tense, but it's not, and I feel like it's missing something. And it was like there's a lot of scenes like when Carpathia gets the signal that the SOS. I feel like that could have been with music that could have been even more.
Even like just a simple string, like something, suspense in a way, yeah.
Something, and it would have amped that up, but it didn't do that. I mean, it was still good, but I'm like, why are you missing? Then I realized they kind of say the music for when
more action.
Pardon the expression, when the shit hits the fan. When chaos is going, that's when the music comes out. Because things are really getting bad. That's that's kind of the signal that okay, things are falling. And they only use music like twice, honestly.
Yeah,
and both times
not
things
kind of like actually like in production, not in production, like during actual filming, like the band.
Yeah,
that doesn't count.
The diegetic
score,
music. Yeah. The score is only used like twice. Like in both times are when things are getting catastrophically bad. That's kind of the point telling you.
Kind of like the intro too.
But I still feel it works for that. But if I hadn't realized that, I'd have been kind of like, well, those scenes really could have been punched up a little more, and which gives you an idea of how good James Horner's score is for Titanic. And I don't want to get too much into it. It's hard not to talk about '97 Titanic when you're talking about this, because they are so similar.
Yeah.
It's crazy how similar they are. Okay, I'm talking enough here. Give me some of your thoughts.
My thoughts?
Yeah, you're here too.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have to do anything. I'm just here for comic reading until that one. I'm here to add comments like I usually do. A lot of better action than the previous movie we've seen. And that lack of music is filled up by the action that's actually happening. It doesn't feel empty. It doesn't feel like there's something missing. Which, in some way, if you're thinking, of course, there could be music. But again, they do the acting really good, and I don't know what else I was going to say.
No, to your point, I know what you're saying. Compare it to Titanic, last one we just watched. And we talked about the sinking was like, oh, hey, the boat's sinking. Okay, well, we're all going down. We're all going to stay here and row and sing together. BS. I felt no tension, no drama. This time, you definitely feel the chaos. I mean, everything seems, there are stakes. Everyone is panicking. It really feels like a disaster is happening. You finally get that moment or that feeling that this is serious. It's it's all played well. You understand that people are going to die, and there's like no escape. You don't really get that sense of urgency in the previous two films. Excuse me. It was really stuck out to me in that last movie because, like I said, they were just all, especially when the boat went down. They're all, I talked about it before. They're all just standing there and they're singing as exactly. There, my God, they is come on.
And there's like exploded.
And here you've got the scenes again similar to what James Cameron did. People, the ship is going down. People are scrambling over each other. They're screaming. They're diving off the boat. They're trying to do whatever they can. They're fighting. There's people are trying to break through barriers to get up to the top of the ship. I mean, it's madness, and that's what you expect, and you finally have that. So it was good to see that played out, with the direction and the character work. So I'm really glad they did that, because it was nice to finally get there. Because I mean, this is a disaster. You want it to feel like a disaster. It's not like an inconvenience. Because that's how the last film treated this. The last two films really treated this thinking like it was an inconvenience. Oh, yeah, darn!
Like 5 million people. Like what was it? Not 5 million. Like a couple, like
1,200 people.
1,200 people died. It's fine.
We'll live on. Yeah, no big deal.
But,
Yeah, I mean, this actually felt like this is a big deal, and that was nice that they did that. I'm trying to think. I mean, all I can do is gush on this. This is a really good movie. It holds up well.
You're not all the years.
Yeah, I mean, it's just as good now as it was, I'm sure, then. I mean, it doesn't feel. I mean, also, I think it's the first time we were talking about that the ship, the interior of the ship looks like Titanic. we joked about, the Grand Staircase last two films looked like, really cheap and just like, the regular
they improved
cable
that
bars.
a lot in this one.
Yeah, the production design on here is really good. It really looks like, what you see of Titanic. They do a good job at the beginning of using stock footage. And I know that some of the footage from that first Titanic film, the German one, was used in here. I can't remember what scenes, but I did see that was used. But the special effects are really good. I think especially, there's a lot more focus on the engine room, which is nice. You don't really get a lot of that. Like Chris said, the first time you actually get to see him use the pumps to pump the water out.
That's the first and only time.
Yeah, you always hear him talk about, they never actually see him using them.
Put the pumps to get the water out. What about the pumps?
Yeah.
And then, you never see them.
Right. And you actually are, spending a lot more time down there. Not just, typically it's, oh no, the boiler's got to be filled, and look how these big strong men, filling boilers, and then it's, oh no, it's gone to hell, we got to get out of here, and that's all you really hear about it. No, they're showing what they're trying to do to get it to stop and keep working up until the end. So that was a nice difference from what we've seen so far. Also, this is the first one to really deal with the Californian situation.
Yeah.
To the point where actually they make California out to be the villain of the movie. More or less, yeah. It is basically the villain because, they see him out in the distance, and the Titanic sends out their, it's funny because they're sending out their flares, and like, oh, I wonder what that could be,
huh? Like a fireworks show, what are they doing?
Why would it? Yeah, why would it should be sending out flares? I don't know. Must be a signal. Why don't you find out?
Hey, he's asleep. Yeah, the guy was asleep.
It's
like they're,
I mean, it really paints a picture of a total incompetence on California
and ignorance.
Yeah, and I'm sure. I mean, a lot of that I'm sure was in the records or whatever, and I'm sure after people saw this movie, it really didn't help the reputation and the legacy of California. Even if it was bad before that, I know it made it worse after that. And then at the same point, it really makes Carpathia even more of a hero because as soon as the one scene, I think when the wireless operator goes down and he's just well, I'm gonna go down here and just do whatever, and then he gets that SOS and just jumps in action. That's what I was saying, like the music cue would have been really cool to, here we go, and he runs up to the captain and gets him away, and they're doing everything he can to change, and we're gonna stop everything, turn around, we're gonna get go to them, whatever. So it really paints him out as the hero as opposed to California as the vile, vicious villains who did nothing. And which also brings up a kind of ironic point at the end when Lighthauler's talking to the captain of the Carpathia at the end. Spoiler alert.
If you haven't watched this movie.
Or, don't know history. Where he's... all of a sudden they get a call from California. Oh, California's sure about Titanic. Is there anything they can do to help? And no, tell them not to bother. Everything that was humanly done or
humanly possible has been done.
Yeah, which is irony in this. And it's just again, it's a kind of a right there to the Californian. So yeah, they really did a good job. A hit job on the Californian or California, excuse me.
It's Californian.
California.
Yeah. And my little note is this is the first movie to actually, and I'll go more physical. Actually, have one of the funnels fall, an entire little moment again around that.
Yeah, typically what we've seen in the first two films, and actually after, is as the ship starts to really sink, like that first funnel collapses, and that's a big thing. For whatever reason,
they made the third funnel or something.
It was like the last funnel.
Yeah,
it waited until the boat was. Then that last funnel collapsed. So the other three stayed intact apparently.
Yeah,
which doesn't make sense physically, or probably even
because the reason why they collapsed in the first place is because the water pressure. They were not meant to be submerged in water, so naturally it just kind of crushed them, and that's why they collapsed.
Right. So it's kind of weird that they would. I mean, that's.
Maybe launch out.
It's however they didn't think about when they did the special effects. Yeah, but it is kind of a weird thing when you're used to that. And of course, as we always say, the ship went down in one piece with this movie.
Yeah, but
Chris made the point that it shouldn't very happen. Of course not. No one knows that yet. I keep telling that.
I keep on trailing on to that point.
I said, yeah, wait till we get to one of these movies. You're really going to be pissed.
I'm scared. I'm scared.
But yeah, because like I said, this was 1958. When it's, yeah, again, we still have, like 30 some years, I think, before they actually find out, oh, look, shit was split in half. And,
Huh.
So
they weren't insane.
Yeah.
The counts were right. The testimonies.
So yeah, I mean, again, there's so many really little. I mean, if anything bad is nitpicks, honestly, this is a really great movie. So far, it is the most fun watch of the three we've done, in my opinion. So some trivia notes here that I found were interesting, and I have them intact right now. Bernard Fox, who appears as Lookout Frederick Fleet, he's the one that said iceberg right ahead. He also appears as Colonel Archibald Gracie IV in Titanic 1997.
The fourth? Yeah,
he is the character when Jack saves Rose from falling over the edge, and after Cal gets them, and and they held up thing to the cops, and he was like, okay, fine, and he's the one that tells Cal, don't you think a reward is in order for whatever. He's the one that convinced Cal to give him like $20 or whatever.
Yeah.
Let's see, Sean Connery, who was uncredited as a deckhand, of course, played James Bond, and
James Bond is in this movie,
which is kind of cool. But apparently a lot of James Bond connections, and of course, this is filmed at Pinewood Studios, which was James Bond's home for the longest. Actually, I think it still is. Honor Blackman, Pussy Galore, she is in a very small role. Apparently, we've got 4 members of the cast: Peter Burton, Desmond Llewellyn, Jeffrey Baldwin, and Alec McCowan, on to play Q in various James Bond movies, which is interesting because I don't even remember seeing Desmond Llewellyn anywhere in the film, and I didn't see him in the cast list, so I don't know if that's how accurate that is. Let's see. Jeremy Bulloch, best known for his portrayal as Boba Fett, makes an uncredited appearance as a boy jumping into the water. So there you go. Just like in Return of the Jedi, Boba Fett is jumping off and falling into things.
Yep.
And Frank Lawton, who plays J. Bruce Ismay, previously starred in 1933's Cavalcade, which also prominently featured the Titanic. Now, I made a point of that because Cavalcade is a 1933 winner of the Best Picture. And the Titanic, I thought about that, but, and I love Cavalcade. It's considered one of the weakest Best Picture winners ever, but I absolutely love Cavalcade.
Yeah.
And the Titanic scene is really it's a kind of an ironic moment. Basically, let me give you a kind of a side note. Cavalcade is about a poor family, rich family that grew up together over the whole, like a century or like a decade or so of generations of time. British family. You have two, the daughter and son of these families get together, they grew up together, they marry, they go on their honeymoon. They're on a cruise. It's so wonderful. We love each other forever. Yay, yay. They walk away. Behind them as of the life's preserver, the Titanic. Dun, dun, dun. That's your reference to the Titanic. So you they're doomed right away. So I didn't put that in here for obvious reasons. It's not worth it. But it is a good movie. I do love the movie a lot. Also, some other things that weren't mentioned I thought was interesting. Pardon me. I'm like getting over with a cold here. Yeah. There's no real mention of the captain being asked to speed up the ship. It just they talk about, well, it could be doing a speed trial tomorrow or whatever, but it's never actually he doesn't get a kind of a push from Ismay to do so. And actually, Ismay isn't really. I mean, he's obnoxious in this version, but he's not really pointed out as the slimy villain he's been in the last 2 movies. Until the end, where he obviously does the jump in the boat, cowardly thing.
Yeah.
But before that, he's actually being kind of helping out women and children and all that. Then at the end, he just kind of flips. But they don't really paint him as the bad guy.
Yeah.
So they're going easy on him, but they're slamming it to California.
Yeah.
So yeah, I thought that was interesting to do. Think with the ice warnings. Because that's something, or not the ice warnings, but the asking the captain to being pressured into speeding the ship up. That's usually what you always get. It is mentioned, like Lightar talks about it later on with all the woulda, coulda, shouldas. If the ship had been closer, we hadn't picked up speed. If we had sold the iceberg sooner, this, that, and the other.
You're just going through a lot of wires in his head. Yeah,
which everyone does. Anytime something like that happens in history, if you look at any kind of major disaster, people always talk about what if.
Like, oh yeah, that's
know.
a kind of common question whenever like a tragedy happens.
Yeah, what if we done this? What if I done that? You know, if this had been 1 second sooner or 1 second later, this could have been avoided. It's you know, a constant evil of life, I guess.
Yeah. What ifs are just like something that kind of had. I don't know. I'm going with what ifs. I was gonna go on some philosophical thing, and then
I love it. He tries so hard to be philosophical, and it's like losing, gives up halfway through it.
I have the perfect line of thought, and then it just breaks as soon as I say it.
To be, forget it. Okay, so I think we've gushed over this enough. I really got nothing more to say.
It's been way too long just recording this and going on.
Well, again, it's just all I can do is gush it because this is a really good movie, and if you've never seen A Night to Remember, even if you're not a Titanic enthusiast or whatever, you really should check this movie out. It is a very good movie. I highly recommend it. And if you are a Titanic fan and you've never seen this movie, you definitely need to see this movie.
Definitely, like your number one thing.
What the hell is wrong with you for not seeing this movie? This is definitely a must watch on your Titanic list, if you will.
And also, if you can, get the book.
And one day we'll finish reading it. And there is actually a sequel to this too, called The Night Goes On. Yeah, I have it over there too. Yeah, and I think it talks more about some more about the sinking, and I think some of the inquiries that happened after like that. But this, this is basically the account of the actual sinking, and it's done really well too. From what we, thank you, Vanna. I mean, it's written very well, and really puts you in the place in of the events.
Yeah,
and a nice narrative. So, any final thoughts on A Night to Remember?
If you haven't seen it, go watch it. Good movie, great book. Even though I haven't finished it, you should watch. You should either watch or read one of these.
Read it while watching it. No.
Read, watch. I don't know.
On that note, too, this is available from Criterion, and this is a great Blu-ray. It looks and sounds fantastic. You got on this Blu-ray, it's an audio commentary by Don Lynch and Ken Marshall, who are the author and illustrator of Titanic and Illustrated History. The Making of A Night to Remember from 1993, which actually I haven't watched. I can watch it on here. I didn't realize that recent. A 60-minute documentary featuring producers William McQuitty's rare behind-the-scenes footage, archival interview with Titanic survivor Eva Hart, Ennet at Minas. It's a foreign language. Oh, it's 1962. It's a half-hour Swedish documentary featuring interviews. Featuring interviews with Titanic survivors.
Huh.
So it's from 1962. And then The Iceberg That Sank the Titanic from 2006. A 50-minute BBC documentary. I guess he interviewed the iceberg and get his point of view from the story and what really happened.
It wasn't my fault that the ship ran.
Hey, you know what? I was sitting here. I was like, hey, I'm swimming here. He just came on by. It was rude. That's all I'm going to tell you. It's rude. In a trailer. And it has, a nice little booklet here, which is, again, it's just basic Criterion collection. But yeah, this is an excellent Blu-ray release, so I highly recommend you pick it up and check it out. So that is it for now. I gotta take water because I'm about to. Oh man, the lung capacity is leaving me right now, so I gotta call this quits. Okay. If you enjoy this, click thumbs up, share, subscribe, leave us a comment below. Let us know if you've seen A Night to Remember, if you read the book, what your thoughts are on it, or just say hi. We'll always say hi. So until next time, this is Chuck and
Chris.
And we will see you on the other side.